Welcome, Panther Nation football fans, to another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. I am, of course, Mr. CeeLo here, talking all things Carolina Panthers, from the postseason to the Super Bowl to the offseason, from the draft to the OTAs to preseason to the regular season. Let the growlin' begin. Welcome back, all you Panther lovers and Panther haters. Glad you could join us here. Guys, I never expected us to be winless at this point. I expected us to be. I think it was when my prediction was earlier in the year. I think we were supposed to be 5-1. Guys, this ain't pretty, and I know what you're gonna say. No crap, Dick Tracy, but this ain't pretty because I don't want to put it completely on Frank Reich, but this ain't good. I mean, then people are going to say, what the French toast are you talking about? It's not pretty because you're not putting Bryce Young in very good positions to be successful. I was happy to see Tommy Tremble get his first touchdown grab of the season. I was very happy about that, and I'm going to go over the grades. That's the beautiful thing about Mondays and the grades coming out and them being released by certain websites that I use, and I'll give them a shout out in the description. Seeing Tommy Tremble get utilized correctly is a good thing, but it's just bad when you see just... It just doesn't make sense that we move the ball better when we're in a rush situation. And honestly, I'm tired of talking about this, but many of you guys have watched my show. Miles Sanders is not the answer. He's not finding the holes. He's just running straight ahead. It's like, whatever. Same thing he did in Philly. He is not the running back for us. Frank Wright and Scott Fitterer made a huge mistake letting Deontay Foreman walk. Chuba Hubbard is doing a much better job. And I know what people are going to say, well, he didn't have a great game this week. But the whole season, he's been playing well. And Detroit is a different monster. And I'm not saying they're an elite team, but I honestly will tell you, I was more impressed. This is the first game this year that I've had with the Carolina Panthers, other than the opening game with the Atlanta Falcons, that I actually felt like Detroit was going to win. Even next week, with us playing the Dolphins, I'm sitting here still scratching my head like, do I really feel like that the Panthers don't have a puncher's chance in this game? I'm not even going to say that. Granted, we don't have J.C. Horn and probably won't have Dante Jackson, but I feel like the pass rush is going to be good enough if, guys like Sam Franklin actually play up on the ball. Now, Troy Hill has done a phenomenal job. That's a guy that I have to give a shout out to. Out of all the guys that miss tackles, he is one of the few guys that I can honestly say I'm enjoying watching play in that secondary. Jeremy Chin did not have a good game, and I'm just going to point it out. He's had a pretty decent season, but this week, Sam Laporta made him look bad, a couple times. And, that's something that's got to be cleaned up, JC. I love you to death, brother, but that's got to be cleaned up. Burns had another sack, and even C.J. Henderson off the corner had a sack. Hey, listen, outside of still missing coverages, he's still having a pretty, respectable season. I think we need to hang on to him, but not for top dollar. You ain't that dude, CJ. You can be a top-notch guy to go beside J.C. Horn if we can get him back. Derek Brown had a pretty good game. Frankie Louisville once again being very productive with the 7 tackles. Sam Franklin, as said earlier, 8 tackles, and Von Bell back, playing well. But it's Shy Tuttle had 4 tackles, and he was the guy that was had one of the worst grades. Edo Gross Matos had 2 tackles, and once again had 2 more pass. Had 2 more passes. What do they call it? Where they rushed the passer. They rushed them and so on and so forth. As I said, Troy Hill just has been all over the place. He had 3 tackles, but every time he engages a guy and makes a tackle, he makes the tackle. Very good find for the Carolina Panther defense. Gruger Hill, once again, a very good game in what I call replacing of Shaq Thompson. And it's just been it's just been disaster. Once again, the interceptions are just, and we said that, I pretty much said it on the show in the beginning, that this was going to be a year where we saw some interceptions, but a lot of these are just like Aiden Hutchinson's interception. It was like, wow. Yeah, he's the guy that makes that defense just go. They're not a great defense, but they're good enough to do what they need to do. And like I said, Bryce having 2 more interceptions, and the offensive line just being shaky, especially at the guard position. And we just, hopefully Corbett comes back soon. Rumor is any week now. And we lost Chandler Zavala, which means Cade Mays had to step in. And right now, along that guard position, it's hit or miss. Even Moten didn't have a good week. Iquano had a better week. But we're just up and down all over the place. To the point where it's just like it's affecting Bryce and even Thomas Brown not being able to coach the way he wants to. Or, in my opinion, to me, we waste too many plays where we're just throwing it short. You guys have heard me say this on countless occasions. We keep talking about receivers. Listen, you're not paying guys top dollar to beat guys one-on-one. You don't have a Tyreek Hill. You got rid of your one guy in DJ Moore in that deal, which was stupid in the first place. Whether Bryce turns out to be a Hall of Famer or not, that was still a stupid play, as we saw Thursday night. That's a problem I have, and that's the thing that I sit there and I draw back. And it's even like Frank Wright said. He says it's not fair to Brian Burns. It's not fair to quite a few players, good players that we have. It's not fair to quite a few. I mean, let's look at the campaign Adam Thielen's putting up now. Ever since he got hot, this is the guy that's got 11 grabs, 107 yards, and another touchdown. He's been balling out. We got to get these other guys to football. Mingo had 5 catches for 48 yards. DJ Shark had another touchdown grab this week. Tommy Tremble had his first. We got to get this guy the ball some. I mean, Hayden Hurst is a good player, but we got to get Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble's a much faster guy. Miles Sanders put another one on the ground. It's not even adding the insult that he's not finding the holes. It's the fact that he's putting the ball on the ground on top of it. And I mean, I'm not going to keep, riding that wave, but that's just the facts. They did get Laviska Shenault the ball more. Somebody's listening to me. So we definitely need to do that more. And figure out ways to get him the football in open space. He didn't have a grab. He didn't have a catch. We need to figure out ways to get him the ball. Those swing passes to the outside, getting him down the field. I'm just of the essence. I'm not going to make a comparison of Bryce Young to a certain quarterback that is balling out. But, you look here at the rushing. Thomas Brown, Frank Wright. If we ain't running the ball effectively, what else are you doing? What are you doing to open that up? 25 of 41. He threw 3 touchdown passes, but the problem is you're trying to get pretty ordinary average receivers to beat guys. that are ordinary average guys. You're only going to get as much space. Listen, if you're getting paid the big dollars to coach a team, your job is to find mismatches. Your job is to set those mismatches up. Kind of like what the Bears did against the Commanders with former DJ Moore, whom I still love. You have to set that up. And sometimes you have to say, okay, my guy is better than your guy. And DJ Moore did that. And sometimes you got to put into Bryce Young's head, this guy is better than this guy. You have to start teaching this young man, hey, listen, look at the matchup we got here. Let's look at the matchups across the board. I know he can beat that guy. I know he can beat that guy. I know he can beat that guy. At some point, you got to call him off and say, hey, look, we're not going to go curls and stops, hitches across the board. We can't do that. We got to have some guy that's either eating up the deep part of the field, the seams, or the boundary. We're not covering all 53 yards of the field. We're not. And that's just counting perimeter to perimeter. We're not, that's counting boundary to boundary, excuse me. We're not even talking about stretching the field. You're on a 20-yard line, you got 80 yards to cover, 90 yards to cover, plus that 53. You got to find a way to cover all of that. You got to make defenses work, because guess what? The spread don't do you a bit of good if you only throw it 10 to 15 yards down the field. You've got to have somebody that scares the defense. And you got them. You sit there and say you don't. And that's the problem I have with people in Panther Nation. You guys don't think we got guys that can stretch the defense. We do. We can only stretch the defense as far as they'll allow it. We have to have somebody that is going to call the plays where we're stretching the field. Every time there's somebody every wide receiver needs to have 3 plays. You know what those plays are? You get one play where you run a short, you get one intermediate, and then you get one bomb play. You go off the field and take a breather. You can sit there and know who's going deep, but here's the thing. Can you stop it? Are you going to pay attention to it? People can look at me and say, oh, well, you're predictable. Not as predictable as you think. Because it might be this guy's turn to go deep, and you know this. But I could have somebody else going deep on the other side. You're not going to play cover 1 on me. I don't care if it's 4th and inches. You're not playing cover 1 on me. Because I'll send that damn tight end deep. I'll fake the handoff back up out of there and throw it to my daggum tight end. Well, guys, as I said, looking here, we dropped to 0-5, and we've got a meeting in South Beach this coming weekend. And I'm not so looking forward to that the way we are right now. And we haven't gotten any good news on guys that are returning. Chandler Zavala was cleared from what I can tell. No serious damage and whatnot. He was released from the hospital and he's doing okay. And it's got to get better, Frank Wright. Go ahead and have your meeting with David Tepper and tell him why the hell we can't run the football and why we're struggling. Because here's the reality of it. You guys are not getting creative. And then on top of that, you're leaving Avero's defense out there too long. Leaving the defense out there too long. You got to do better. Well, before we go, guys, let's go to the grades. Let's go to the grades. I'm sorry. Let's do this. I went through this and I looked at it and I was just really disappointed. And it's inexcusable because I'm not going to say it's completely inexcusable because I haven't seen Jeremy Chin on this list before, but he was. And it's the grades for the game, you guys. And I just got to give a shout out to the ones that balled out. I always have to do that. I always have to give the shout outs to to the guys that played well, especially the ones that don't get their just dues, like the Chuba Hubbards. Okay, the top guys, of course, Adam Thielen, 85.5. Ike Ekwonu had a 76. I'm glad to see that. Ian Thomas had a 71. Chuba Hubbard had a 68 too. And it's becoming a normalcy that Adam Thielen is number 1 on the list. And now let's go to the worst grades on the offense. And, of course, Bryce Young's 13th. Dead last is Miles Sanders. Like I told you guys. And I don't need this to tell me. I've never been a fan when we signed him because I felt like he was a guy, like you heard me say this, he's pedestrian when he was in Philly. He's a guy that doesn't look up. He's walked in Saquon Barkley's shadow coming out of Penn State, and I think ultimately he's just not that guy. We should have signed Deontay Foreman to the big deal, whatever he wanted. He's the guy that fit this offense, and he would have been phenomenal for Bryce Young because he presents an element nobody wants to deal with, which is kind of like the A.J. Dillon effect in Green Bay. He hits you in the mouth. Taylor Moton was next to last. He had a rough go at it with a 52.1. Hayden Hurst again is on this list, surprisingly. Chandler Zavala, with the injury, he was on it. He didn't play very long. But let's go look at the tops of the defense. Of course, Gruger Hill was number 1. Brian Burns is 69.4. Brian Burns has been playing great, but I think the other thing that gets out of whack with him is great pass rusher. But a lot of times what happens is he commits inside and allows containment to be broken, and a lot of runs get outside. I would imagine that's a lot of the reason why his grade is so low, because he does break containment, trying to get inside. So if I had any words of advice for BB, I understand you're trying to get to the quarterback, but you got to keep containment. Once again, Gross Models had a really good game. He had a 68.3 grade. And, Burns, I can't forget his. He had 2 pressures. That's what I was referring to earlier, quarterback pressures, if you would, blah. And he also picked up his 4th sack of the season. But then you had Gross Models. He had 2 more pressures. But, he's done a great job. I don't know if it was the motivation because he knows his job could possibly be on the line. I hope that's not it because, Matt Rule expected this guy to be great. He really did. And hopefully this is a maturing process. And, of course, my boy, Amari Barno, 64.4. And y'all got to continue getting this guy in the game. He can be that dude. And as I said, we got to continue to get him in there. And this is the type of playing that he can get on the field. Let's look at the worst of the defense. Probably the surprise of the day for me, not really the surprise of the day, was Jeremy Chin being on this list, and he was next to dead last. Even though he only played 18 snaps, he just had a rough go trying to keep Sam Laporta in check. He had 2 grabs on Chin, one which, he scored on that 31-yarder, which was a flea flicker. Really, all it was he just fell asleep on the play and, he ran by him. But, the ones that are getting me is Shy Tuttle and Justin Houston. These guys were big-time free agents that the Panthers signed, and on Justin Houston, Shy Tuttle, it's looking more and more like we should have went after Leonard Floyd. Just saying. Let's also look at the studs. Of course, we know Adam Thielen. Like I said, for a guy that's 33, he had 11 grabs for 107. And, I think, this is kind of funny. They were saying the stud was a garbage time Bryce Young, which I think needs to happen is Thomas Brown and Frank Wright need to kind of go into kind of a speed up tempo type. I've been saying this. I think he's more comfortable in an up-tempo style. And I know people are going to say, well, they went to a prevent. That has something to do with it too. But at the same time, if you can get these guys in an up-tempo type movement, I think we could possibly find something here. You may have to do him that. Put him in an up-tempo style of offense. Because right now we don't have a back to run a slow-paced offense yet. Because Sanders ain't that guy. I said Sam Franklin's been playing really well. It's been an uphill because he's one of the guys I thought we should have but he's been playing, and he's been playing much better. And I'm happy that he's playing well in Xavier Woods' absence. So, because we really needed that. But we just got to continue to not turn the. We can't turn the ball over. That's just not good for us. And like I said, our run defense has been really bad. It's been really bad, and I've seen this all year. But guys, we've just got to shore up our defense, and we've got to stand pat on being faithful to our guys and understanding. We've got to stick with Bryce. We've got to stick behind Bryce. We've got to stick by our defense. We've got injuries, but here's the thing: our defense is not playing that bad, but we've got to make tackles. We have got to contain the edge. We have got to fill gaps. We got to play better. We have to play better, and Thomas Brown and Frank Wright have to call a better game plan. Point blank. But let me know what you guys think. I'm so glad you guys have been, interacting with the show. It means a lot. It's fun, and I really appreciate it, and look forward to getting to the point where we're doing this show live. We're getting there. We're pushing ahead, and hopefully we can get this. It would be awesome if we could get this win this week, but right now it's not looking too good. But I will go over this game next week, talk about the possible guys that we're going to miss and the possible guys that could be returning, and the keys to us pulling a massive upset over the Dolphins. But until the next time, you guys, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.